Hello, 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 hello. I'm just going to say hello until everybody shows up, and then I'll say hello some more. Hello, everybody. It's if you're looking for DTNS, it's a holiday in the United States. So I figured I'd do a little office hours stream at the normal time to let people know that, because some people come surfing in and say like, "Hey man, where's the show?" And I can say, "Hey man, the show is tomorrow. We got Lamar Wilson coming on, but you will get Apple Vision show. Eileen and Sarah not taking the day off. Hey Anthony. Hey Beatmaster. They will both be doing the Apple Vision show at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern, so an hour and a half from now. I'm just keeping it warm. President hours. I like that Lion Jim video. Presidents of the United States of America, not the band. I just want a list. List. There we go. Actually, Abe would have worn an Apple Vision Pro. You're absolutely right, Beatmaster. So the first president of the United States under the Articles of Confederation, so it would have been a president of the Continental Congress, which is more like a Speaker of the House or a Prime Minister, but was called a president. Let's see, where are they? I used to have these at the ready. I believe John Hanson was the first president of the United States of America under the Continental Congress. Yeah, there we go. They were elected like a new one every year at that point. All right, where do we get to that? I mean, I'm sure it's online somewhere. Huh. It's not there. Could have sworn. Well, where did I swore it was in the back of this book somewhere. Would have been like 1778. This is a bonus stream. Correct. Thank you for informing everyone. Okay, that has Polk elected, Adams elected, Washington elected. Huh. Let's see if I can find it somewhere else. I know it's in this book. I just can't find it right now. Presidents of the Continental Congress. There are coffee and donuts, yes. At least coffee. List of presidents. There we go. Oh, John Hanson wasn't the first. Terms and backgrounds of 14 men who served as president of the Continental Congress. Peyton Randolph, Henry Middleton, then Peyton Randolph again, John Hancock, Henry Lawrence, John Jay, Samuel Huntington, Thomas McKean, John Hanson, Elias Boudinot, Thomas Mifflin, Richard Henry Lee, John Hancock again, Nathaniel Gorham, Arthur St. Clair, and the last president of the Continental Congress, Cyrus Griffin. Cyrus Griffin. All right. So I promised I would give you my opinion on every president of the United States of America in honor of the President's Day holiday. Let's find a little bit first about the President's Day holiday. Let's see. President's Day, officially Washington's birthday at the federal government level, is a holiday in the United States celebrated on the third Monday of February. And often celebrated to honor all of those who served as president. Since 1879 has been the federal holiday honoring founding father George Washington. The day is an official state holiday in most states, with names including Washington's birthday, President's Day, Washington and Lincoln's birthday. The various states use 15 different names depending on the specific law. So the official federal holiday is Washington's birthday. Lincoln's birthday, February 12th, was never a federal holiday, but nearly half the states have officially renamed their observance President's Day. Washington and Lincoln Day, or such other designations, as Lincoln and Washington's birthday were close to each other. So only Virginia calls it George Washington Day, but Connecticut, Florida, Illinois, Iowa, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, North Carolina, New Jersey, and New York call it Washington's birthday. Interesting that I thought Illinois called it President's Day. We always called it President's Day. Wow. I guess that's a Missouri thing. Oh, wait, Missouri doesn't call it that either? Well, then what the hey? The third Monday in February, generic term used in California. Oh, that's funny. Very federal. Anyway, it's a mess. All right, George Washington. What do I think of George Washington? Right place in the right time, right man for the job. How about that? Right man for the job. John Adams, argumentative. That's my impression of John Adams. Just kind of a fighter, a quibbler. Thomas Jefferson, a more philosophically argumentative guy, an argumentative guy that always thought he was right. Not that John Adams didn't think it was right. They both died on the same day. My sister was reminding me of that earlier today. James Madison makes me think of donuts, which is unfortunate because I know that he should be remembered for more than that. And Dolly Madison is the name of the donut company, not James Madison. James Monroe and his doctrine, best remembered for the Monroe Doctrine, which said, hey, everybody, stay out of the Americas. That's our job to push people around in the Americas, not yours, Europe. John Quincy Adams, one of our few three named presidents, usually reserved for serial killers, but in this case, not a serial killer. John Quincy Adams, always remembered, sadly, as the other Adams. Like, oh wait, there was John Adams and then John Quincy Adams. Those are different. Yeah. Andrew Jackson, old Hickory. That's all I have to say about Andrew Jackson. I've been to his hermitage. Andrew Jackson. He's a rabble rouser. Every time there's a president who's thought to be subverting the norm, they get compared to Andrew Jackson. Happened to Clinton, happened to Trump. Martin Van Buren. Now, I get it's not really three names because Van Buren's one name, but I believe our only Dutch president, or the only president of Dutch descent, possibly. At least that's what people think. William Henry Harrison, another three named one. He didn't last very long. That's what I remember about William Henry Harrison. He died shortly after inauguration. Was it him that didn't wear the coat, wanted to look all healthy? John Tyler was like, I just wanted to be vice president. And then Taylor didn't wear a coat, or Harrison didn't wear a coat. Now look at me now. Source of the name Tippecanoe and Tyler too. James K. Polk, the Napoleon of the Stump, as immortalized in They Might Be Giants songs. Roosevelt have Dutch in him? I think Van Buren was born in the Netherlands then. Maybe that's what differentiates him. Good question, though. Zachary Taylor also didn't last very long in office. And he was like a, military guy. Or at least he liked to be pictured like one. Millard Fillmore, our most mocked name. I don't think he deserves being mocked. He seemed to have a nice, interesting presidency. Never named a vice president, though. Oddly enough. Just, took over for Zachary Taylor when he died. And Fillmore never named another vice president. Didn't need one. He was the vice president and the president. Franklin Pierce, best known for being the inspiration for the name of the fictional Hawkeye Pierce, Benjamin Franklin Pierce, in the MASH book and movie and TV show. James Buchanan. Not the Buchanan not Patrick Buchanan, different James Buchanan. Abraham Lincoln. He seems pretty beloved. We're sort of celebrating his birthday, or should have, February 12th. Had two vice presidents. Hannibal Hamlin. Nobody remembers Hannibal Hamlin. He was the vice president in Lincoln's first term, and then Andrew Johnson took over when Lincoln was assassinated. Andrew Johnson also never named a vice president when he finished the term, and often remembered for being unliked after fulfilling the remainder of Lincoln's term. Ulysses S. Grant. I always think about the fact that Hunter S. Thompson called Richard Nixon the most criminal president since Ulysses S. Grant. I think Grant's got a bad rap for that. He also didn't have a vice president for the last 2 years of his term. I guess Henry Wilson died. Henry Wilson. A lot of these early presidents had different vice presidents too. Grant had Schuyler Colfax in his first term, then Henry Wilson. Rutherford B. Hayes, best remembered for teaching me how to pronounce the word Rutherford, not Rutherford. I don't know. It's probably Rutherford, but anyway, yeah, great name. James A. Garfield, often our president most compared to cats because of the Garfield comic strip. Also, the president that no, that's not. Oh, okay. Yeah. James A. Garfield. He's part of the string of presidents people don't remember, right? Ulysses S. Grant. Everybody likes those. Then everybody likes those. Why did I call them those? Everybody was like, oh, who's married to Grant's tomb? Ulysses S. Grant. Oh, he was a Civil War general. Rutherford B. Hayes. Huh? James A. Garfield. Huh? Chester A. Arthur. I believe Arthur took over when Garfield died. Garfield died in office. Garfield didn't make it through his first year either. Huh. And so no vice president for Chester A. Arthur. Grover Cleveland, the president whose name most closely reminds people of Muppets. That's how a lot of people remember Grover Cleveland. He finished his term, which was unusual back in the 1800s, apparently, as we're finding out. Benjamin Harrison, who went to great lengths to say, no, I'm not the Harrison that didn't wear a coat. I'm a different Harrison, part of the Harrison dynasty of presidents. Everyone forgets Benjamin Harrison. Even when I try to come up with names of obscure presidents, I always forget Benjamin Harrison. I'll remember William Henry Harrison, but not Benjamin Harrison. Sad. Grover Cleveland. You're like, wait a minute. We just mentioned Grover Cleveland. Also remembered not just for his Muppet name, but for, to this point, being the only U.S. president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. He lost to Benjamin Harrison and then came back and won again in 1893. William McKinley, the first president to serve during the 20th century, and had Teddy Roosevelt as his vice president. And Teddy Roosevelt took over as president when McKinley died. I believe McKinley was assassinated, if I'm remembering right. And Teddy Roosevelt then won re-election. Fighting Teddy is what I call him. Teddy Bear is what other people call him. That's the one with the glasses, some people call him. That's Teddy Roosevelt, 1901 to 1909. He went on to run under an independent party called the Bull Moose Party. William Howard Taft. I don't know if it's true, but everybody talks about Taft not being able to fit into his bathtub. And I think that's unfair. We don't know. Maybe his bathtub was extremely small. Woodrow Wilson, the guy that screwed up World War I, tried to start the League of Nations. Too smart for his own good is usually the Woodrow Wilson take. He tried, is what I'll say. I used to drive by the Benjamin Harrison home on the way to work. Really, Clinton? Wow. Invader Teddy, as he was known to Central America. Yeah. Good point, P-Master. All right, Woodrow Wilson. There you go. He's the reason we had World War II. It wasn't just him. He tried his best. Warren Gamaliel Harding. Just Warren G. Harding, though. So not a 3-name person. He died in office. Harding, if I say Warren Harding, you're like, oh, he's the president. Tell me something about him. You'll be like, I don't know. His vice president was Calvin Coolidge. You probably didn't know that, though. But Calvin Coolidge took over and became president after Harding died. Harding died 2 years into his term. Coolidge finished off a term and then got reelected. Calvin Coolidge. I think of Calvin Coolidge as being that president that old-timey people in like 50s movies refer to show how old they are, right? If you've got the young couple in the 50s, some old person will be like, whatever happened to Calvin Coolidge? It's what happened under Calvin Coolidge. And another person like that is his successor, Herbert Hoover, who is most well known for being mentioned in the theme song of All in the Family. We need a man like Herbert Hoover again. Also known for being president when the Great Depression kicked off. I mean, there's also that. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. No one knows much about him. Most people, no, I'm just kidding. I mean, FDR, right? I think everyone thinks that he was president for 17 years and it was really only 12. He's the reason we have a 2-term limit on presidents because he just wouldn't stop running and people just wouldn't stop voting for him. And my father always called him the most criminal president we ever had, not U.S. Grant. John Nance Garner, Henry A. Wallace, and Harry S. Truman, all his vice presidents. He had multiple vice presidents. Did not keep the same vice president all the way through. Very common not to keep the same vice president if you got reelected way back in the day. Then, of course, Harry S. Truman takes over and is elevated to the presidency. Also does not have a vice president through most of his term. And then he gets elected. I guess you wouldn't say reelected because he succeeded. Yeah. So there you go. Harry S. Truman. And no, Ryan, Truman's vice president was Alban W. Barkley. Alban W. Barkley. Did you know Adlai Stevenson the First was Grover Cleveland's vice president? I missed that as we were scrolling through here. Yeah. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. All right, Harry S. Truman, and then Dwight David Eisenhower, our greatest president. I'm just kidding. I mean, he's pretty good, though. People forget about Eisenhower because I guess he's mostly quoted for beware of the military-industrial complex, and also for helping win World War II. Pretty amazing guy, though, Dwight D. And not a spotlight seeker, so didn't really you don't get a lot of biopics about Ike. He can get convicted of stuff, all of that. He was succeeded by, and Dwight D kept the same vice president the whole time, Richard Nixon. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, of course, best known for being assassinated these days. A lot of these other guys that we talked about were assassinated in office. Some of them died natural causes, some of them didn't. John F. Kennedy, the Kennedy assassination, the Kennedy conspiracy, etc., and kicking off the moon thing, even though he didn't live to see it around. His vice president, Lyndon Johnson, took over and was elected once as president. He was the first one to really take that two-term thing seriously because he could have got around it, right? He finished out Kennedy's term, got elected to president, finished out that term, and theoretically could have run for a second term because the amendment says you can't, if you fulfill most of another president's term, then you can't keep going. I think it's like you can't serve more than 10 years. So like you can serve 2 full terms and half of one if you succeeded somebody. And Lyndon said, if nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve. Didn't have a vice president himself until he ran, and then Hubert Humphrey was his vice president. Then Johnson was succeeded. What is Johnson known for? Succeeding Kennedy. I think that's the upshot there. Richard Nixon, best known for being a football fan. That's what everybody remembers about old Richard Nixon. Richard Milhouse Nixon. Definitely, that's all people think about when they think of Nixon. They think, gosh, that guy really liked football. But you know what? A lot of you guys don't realize he had a gap in his vice presidents. Spiro Agnew resigned the vice presidency October 10th, 1973, and we didn't have a vice president until December 6th when Gerald Ford was appointed vice president. I believe, if I'm reading this right, Gerald Ford was the first appointed vice president. That usually the vice presidency just stayed vacant. Johnson left it vacant till you got elected, and then Nixon comes along and is like, you know what? I'm about to resign. So instead of having a constitutional crisis, I'll appoint a vice president to take the place of Agnew. Spiro Agnew, by the way, was the silent majority. He's the one who's talked about like, yeah, everybody complains about us, but the silent majority likes us. We could use a little more silent majority talk these days, I feel like. Yes, then Gerald R. Ford, the first president that I ever voted for, although it didn't count because it was in my first grade election, but our only president never to be elected at all. A lot of vice presidents became president, so they weren't elected to be president, but they were elected as vice president. Ford, not elected to that office or its office that he was going to succeed to. He had a Rockefeller as his vice president that he appointed. He appointed Nelson Rockefeller. Then, of course, Ford lost the only election he ever ran for president to Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, best known for peanuts or Billy Beer or building houses for poor people. I'd like to think what he did for building houses is probably what he best should be remembered for. But yeah, Jimmy Carter, good man. Then Ronald Reagan, is he the first actor president? I think he is. Yeah. Ronald Reagan with George H.W. Bush. Reagan best remembered for Morning in America. It's Morning in America. I think that was his re-election campaign, not his election campaign. Succeeded by his vice president, George H.W. Bush, not because he died in office, though. Unlike so many of the other presidents we're talking about, George H.W. Bush ran and won and became president because Dukakis put on too big of a helmet when he drove a tank. So George H.W. Bush won, and this was the first election I voted in, and my vote was counted. So there you go, George H.W. Bush, best remembered for "Read My Lips, No New taxes." Let's see. We've got Bill Clinton comes next. Most remembered for playing the saxophone on the which late night talk show was it? Now I'm blanking. But yeah, best known for playing the saxophone. Maybe somebody remembers. I don't want to get it wrong. Was it? It was Arsenio. Okay. Arsenio Hall show. Bill Clinton played the sax. He was in a Bush sandwich, you might say. And then people will raise their eyebrow and say, you should reconsider that phrasing. And you'll say, hey, I'm just mean. George H.W. Bush was the president. Then Bill Clinton was the president. Then George H.W. Bush's son, George W. Bush, was president. Bill Clinton, technically the first president to serve in the 21st century. And then George W. Bush, the first one to be elected in the 21st century. And the first president since the 19th century to lose the popular vote, but still win the Electoral College. And gosh, he'd set a trend. That'll just become normal. George W. Bush, all kidding aside, probably best remembered for September 11th and the Iraq War, the second Iraq War. George H.W. Bush had the first Iraq War. That's odd. Clinton had Sarajevo. He part of NATO. They bombed something. Everybody bombs something. So there you go. George W. Bush, succeeded by Barack Obama, best known for Obamacare, the health insurance that you still are confused by to this very day. Ken Warfo for, I'd say George W. Bush, known for his paintings now, but not as much when he was in office. Barack Obama succeeded by Donald Trump, best known for saying "Kofefe" on Twitter and uniting the country in laughter. Kofefe, look it up. And then he was followed by Joe Biden, best remembered for, I can't remember. Still, you know what? I'm going to play that card. Like, hey, his legacy isn't finished yet. We don't know if he's done. I guess I could say the same as Trump because he's probably going to get the nomination and run again. So maybe he'll be president again too. I'm sure that's not a controversial statement for many of you to say, but you know what? That's the way it works right now. Yeah. So the two oldest people ever to be president, we think as a country, golly, let's nominate them again. See if they can be even older. You know, it's kind of fun. There you go. Those are the presidents of the United States of America and my thoughts on them. It kind of turned from my thoughts on them to what do I think they are best remembered for. So yeah, there you go. I learned a song in 1976. Yeah, I think it was 1976, wherein we named all the presidents to the tune of Yankee Doodle Dandy. And I like to sing it every President's Day. I'd like you to join with me. If you know all the presidents, sing it with me. It's to the tune of Yankee Doodle Went to Town, if you know that song. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Adams, Jackson, Van Buren, Harrison, Tyler, Polk, Taylor, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan, Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, McKinley, Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford. These are the presidents of our land and none should be ignored. I've actually tried to add Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, and then I get stuck. Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, and I don't have a rhyme to finish it. I actually wonder if the teacher that taught me that is still alive, and if she is, did she keep going? Did she keep adding presidents after that? Yes, it was Grover Cleveland, Ken Warfo for. Grover Cleveland, the only president to have a gap term, not a gap year so much, but yeah, the only president to have non-consecutive terms. So there you go. Well, gosh, I feel like we all learned something today. I learned I can't sing as well as I used to. I also learned it's really hard to keep the president's song going the more presidents we get. I learned that just talking about Trump and Biden makes me very nervous on a live stream, even if I'm not really expressing an opinion about either one of them. Just makes me shaky, like I drank too much coffee, and I have not yet drank too much coffee. New presidential greatness survey out today. Oh yeah, probably not willing to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Definitely not, Clinton. I thought about putting on the top hat, Wabbit Magic. I really did. I was like, especially for the 18th century presidents, it's not appropriate for most of the presidents though. I'm sorry, the 19th century presidents. Top hat's too early for the late 18th century, early 19th century presidents, and then goes away by early to mid 20th century. So you know what I should do if I do this again someday? Have the top hat just for the period appropriate section, and maybe I should get a hat. It'd have to be a powdered wig for the early presidents. Yeah, what kind of hats did they wear? It was like tri-corner hats, right? I'd get a tri-corner, move into a top hat, and then a fedora, which I have, and then then they stop wearing. Presidents just stop wearing hats at some point. I think Nixon wore a hat. But did he wear a hat as a vice president or a president? And now I'm wondering. Now I'm trying to think if I remember correctly. I don't think Kennedy really wore a hat a lot. Johnson, I think, did. So yeah, it'd be somewhere around there. Ford wore baseball caps. You're right. So we could switch to baseball caps for Ford. Actually, they all wear baseball caps. Bush wore one on the on the deck when in that famous moment. So yeah. Johnson did wear cowboy hats. That's true. I don't think he ever wore them in an official capacity. That was always when he was off duty, though. But yeah, I've got a cowboy hat. This could be kind of fun. I need to get a tri-corner, though, to make this work. Yeah. And then baseball caps. Because, yeah, they all wear baseball caps at some point. Even Obama wore baseball caps. I like it. Oh, President's Day. A lot of people make fun of President's Day because it's not, Christmas. But I like this better than the kind of generic bank holiday. And I think these holidays are important. And I think the fact that companies don't follow them is bad. I think companies should follow these because it's important to give unexpected or irregular breaks to people to help them recharge. So, yeah, I would say I'm a fan of President's Day, Labor Day, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, and Martin Luther King Jr. Day. They're important. Crispy T68. Whenever we get one, we can do that. Companies are the real country leaders. I saw an interesting Marxist write-up saying that we have moved into techno-feudalism. That it's when everyone's complaining about capitalism, they're not complaining about capitalism. They're complaining about techno-feudalism. It's long and very Marxist-y. Not particularly technical, though. So I actually, it's not as Marxist-y as it could be. The reasoning is very Marxist. It's saying, the struggle between the proletariat and the bourgeois did not result in world revolution. Instead, it resulted in techno-feudalism. And now the bourgeois and the proletariat are both in thrall to corporations with their information. That's where it started to get, okay, now I'm interested. Up to then, I was like, yeah, okay, everybody says things, right? But the idea that we give our information away in exchange, and then our information is siloed on these big platforms, may seem just as ridiculous to people someday as giving your labor away to a thane or duke or something in order to have a living on the manor. So yeah, it's a. I think it's weird that he uses the word feudalism because this isn't devolving into feudalism, but it's similar to feudalism. So he's using that word to call out the similarities, but he actually isn't arguing that we're devolving into feudalism. He's arguing that capitalism has evolved into something more similar to feudalism, where information instead of labor is the currency that people are giving away. Yeah, free email, exactly. Not saying that I subscribe entirely to it, but certainly thought provoking. Because what catches me about it is it's not just saying, hey, the same old thing I'm going to define as bad. It's saying there's something entirely new going on that we haven't seen before, and it has changed the game. And I always perk up a little when I see that. I'm like, yeah, because I don't think we're in late stage capitalism. I think a lot of people misunderstand what capitalism is when they criticize capitalism, and they may be criticizing something different that we haven't put a proper name on yet. Yeah. Evolved, devolved, potato, potato. Yeah. Speaking of Dan Quayle, Beatmaster, it's an interesting theory to think of on President's Day. And even if you're not from the United States of America, I like to think that you could still celebrate President's Day. Maybe it's the president of your local bridge club or president of the condo association, or, do they have condo associations? Yeah, they do in Canada and stuff. Yeah. So there you go. Happy President's Day. Maybe it's just President's Choice Cola, if that's available in your area of the world. Whatever president you want to preside over celebrating. Maybe you're the president. My brother is the president of his theater. So I wished him a happy President's Day. God Emperor of Doom Day. Yes, with Prime Minister of the Homeowners Association in Canada. Clinton was president of an HOA a while back. Yeah, happy president. Former President Clinton. President Clinton. See what I did there? As President Thomas J. Whitmore said, it's all our Independence Day now. Yeah, a lot of people in the U.S. celebrated the Queen's birthday, right? Or the Jubilees stuff. So why not? Enjoy. More holidays, the better. I'm going to hand this off then. Stick around. Don't go too far away, because in about 45 minutes, Apple Vision Show is going to kick off. Eileen and Sarah will be talking Apple stuff from a consumer point of view, from a lifestyle point of view, from how they use the stuff. How do they fit Apple's vision into their lives? And of course, the Apple Vision Pro, the biggest thing right now. A lot of talk about that, but as they go on, they're going to be talking about a lot of other stuff too. So please enjoy, stay where you are, and look for that live nomination shortly. Thank you, everyone. Nethead, you missed the beginning when I went through all the places that call it President's Day versus the places that call it George Washington birthday, et cetera, et cetera. So as soon as I stop, you can rewind and see that. But there are some places that call it President's Day. All right. Thank you all. Many, many presidential returns to you. And we'll see you for the regular show tomorrow with Lamar. Bye.